your body now, everybody. Yeah, rock your body. Yeah, everybody. Rock your body, rock your body. Backstreet's back, all right. Wait, you recorded that, right? Okay, that is Backstreet is back, but you know what's also back? Pero let me tell you,
That's right. That's the newest single from DJI.
DJ. Wait, DJ and I. Oh, Darian Jr.
Yeah.
Took me a while there. It's been a long day. So everybody, pero let me tell you, is back.
Yes.
Well,
As
from
we
last
always are
week.
every week.
Every week.
Yes.
In episode 3.
You can do this. You can do this. You can do this.
37.
Yes.
Wow. I knew it was in 339. I knew it was in an even number, so the next
default.
odd number was 337.
By default.
I almost said 393.
Pero, was I in a coma?
No, that would be season
9? Actually,
Yeah, it would be season
like
9.
toward the end of season 9.
I don't know if we're going to do a 400th episode celebration. 500, yeah. 500, we're going to throw the house through the window.
Well, I think for 400th we should do something. I mean, it's 400.
Yeah, no, and we'll be now, since we're part of Cultura,
Yes,
we could
exactly.
have a Cultura party.
It's a Cultura party, yes.
So, yes, we were reliving Backstreet Boys.
Yes, the early 2000s, late 90s, yeah.
What a time to be alive.
What a time. We used to be a proper culture.
Yeah. You know that song, Everybody Backstreet's Back? I'm like, that was like on their first album, right?
Yes.
I'm
Well,
like-
they're their first U.S. album.
I'm
yes.
like, they never went away. Like, why are they back if they never went away?
I remember it was their first U.S. album.
Okay, whatever. But
No, but when the song was written, it was probably written by some German who was like, I work on the first album of Backstreet Boys. And I was like, I'm back. You know?
how do I even respond to that?
I'm not wrong.
The Backstreet Boys, they had that video where they were in the rain, and I remember watching that and being like,
Is that
"This
quit playing
so
games?
Freaking cringe! Like, this is so cringe."
Listen, you may say it's cringe, but the amount of times I have found myself with an unbuttoned dress shirt in the rain, I mean, I could count so much.
Somehow, I don't doubt that about you. That's the funny thing.
The weird thing is there was no cameras, and yet I was still singing out loud. That was the weird part.
But what were you singing?
Yeah, I was actually singing La Gata Bajo la Lluvia.
That would be appropriate.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know about Backstreet being back, but hey, if NSYNC wants to get back together,
Yeah. Well, at this point, Backstreet never went anywhere, essentially, right? So NSYNC's gonna be like the back.
yeah.
Do it already, Justin.
I feel that like that will be like a millennials. I don't know.
Like, I mean, not to crib from O-Town, but Liquid Dream.
Yeah. That song is so terrible, but it's
love it.
so good. But
I
it's
love
so.
it. And you know what? If I was part of the band, I would have made it work.
I dream about a girl who's a mix with Destiny's Child, just a little touch of Madonna's Wild out with Janet Jackson smile. Janet Jackson does have a good smile.
She has a very nice smile. Actually, you know what? That like Frankenstein woman they're building is very pretty.
Yeah.
You know?
So this past week, that it was unfortunately the 30 years of the passing of Selena.
Oh, that's right. Yes, but no parole.
No parole for Yolanda Saldivar, la asesina.
That makes her sound almost worse than she really is. Like it
I
makes her sound like
sort
this
of crack
devious
up.
person.
I hadn't seen that movie in a few years. I sort of crack up at the beginning of the movie where some fan is like, "Is that the Selenas?"
Oh yeah, yeah. They kept saying it weird. Not
Like
Selena, like Selena's.
Selenas.
But they gave her
Anything for Selena.
But you know what? They gave her a toe.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I think that movie is fantastic. That movie is great. But there's things in that movie that I question. Does
Okay.
Selena really go bungee jumping?
You know, I feel like she might have.
She was like really stressed. And it's like, I'm going to do the only logical thing. I'm going to go bungee jumping.
Because you know what? Selena was not going to live by the rules of Abraham. And so she was going to go out there and defy all of the Latino norms.
It's not a laughing matter because this is a tragedy, but in context of the movie, I always crack up at the end when she's like, "I didn't want to kill my best friend." she's my best friend. I'm like, oh God.
I feel bad for the lady who played Yolanda just because she's this character actress who kept playing, roles in other things that I love. But every time I would see her, I'd be like,
Asesina.
Like you just did a good job.
Oh
That's
yeah,
the problem.
you know that I was watching because obviously there was a lot of stuff on Selena this week. Yolanda Diva was 34 when she killed her. What a bad 34.
Oh my God, que 34 más más vivido. Man.
She was 34.
Pero in like what?
I don't know, but because they were like, oh, the 64-year-old,
right, yeah,
is seeking parole, and I'm like, 64? That means she was 34 when she killed her. I was like,
man,
she
that's
looked,
two tragedies.
She looked like una señora. She looked like una señora, pero mal, not like.
Yeah, she looked like una señora who was like in her 50s who dressed like she was in her 60s.
Right, the woman in her 50s now is Selena, Jennifer Lopez.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So we've come a long way. 50.
I love that meme that shows the Golden Girls in the 80s, and they're the same age as Jennifer Lopez now.
No. I'm gonna one up you now. The cast of Friends is now older than the Golden Girls were when they started the show. Think about that, kids.
Wow, that is.
Think about that.
The cast of Friends is currently older
than when the Golden Girls started.
Than all of them?
The show, yes.
So they were all in their 50s?
I think one of them may have even been like 49. Like
Rue McClanahan
like
was the youngest one.
Yeah.
And she was the youngest one by a lot. By a bit. Like over 10 years.
Yeah. Wow. So think about that's a perspective, right? Because you look at the cast of Friends now, you're like, well, they're older, but they look, they're still youthful. They're the friends, right?
Yeah.
They're older.
Numbers don't lie.
No, they don't lie.
Yeah, but 40 and 50 in the 80s was like.
That's true.
There's
also 40-year-old in the 80s, and then there's 40 and 50 when you're just Bea Arthur.
Right.
I think Bea Arthur looked that way as an infant.
Yeah.
Like she was the only toddler who had gray hair.
Yeah.
Like just.
Yeah.
Have you seen the picture of her in the military?
I think so.
Yeah. La misma cara. Look at, a little darker hair. It's the same face.
Yeah.
And she was like 19.
What a time to be alive.
What a time to be. We used to be a proper culture.
Bea Arthur. That was great.
We don't have a Bea Arthur type anymore. Like if you were to cast a Bea Arthur type, there's no one to cast because everybody's had so much work done.
Oh. Well, because I was going to say, in terms of comedy, it's different. It's different. I'm not comparing her to Bea Arthur, but I really like Wanda.
Wanda Sykes?
Yeah. Because I'm not saying she's like Bea Arthur.
But that sass.
Yeah.
Yeah. That like zinger.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give you Wanda Sykes.
Yeah.
Although I love the fact that in order to get a Bea Arthur type, we had to go with a black lesbian.
I mean...
No. It's called progress.
Whoever's available.
It's called progress.
Whoever's available.
We've come a long way, baby.
Whoever's available. I mean, Bea Arthur, she defied all expectations of gender.
Listen, she defied all expectations of who was going to become a superstar.
What, her?
Yeah.
In her 60s?
In her everything. Like, think about it. She's not a conventional beauty. She was always playing the smart ass, and she was she's a star, an icon.
Because she was hilarious.
Right. But how many hilarious people are out there that are just never given the shot?
That's true. But she was great.
Yeah.
And then there's Maud.
And then there's Maud. Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to talk this week, pero let me tell you about the torpedo bats that they're now using in the MLB, but nobody really here.
Wait, no, but what's a torpedo bat?
So it's a bat that has a different shape.
I'm assuming like a torpedo.
A little bit like the top is more concave. Is it concave when it goes in?
Yes.
And convex when it goes out, right?
That sounds correct. Yes.
Because there's concave and convex.
Yes.
Convex,
yes. No, yes. You got the right words.
Concave. And it's supposed to, you're supposed to hit better when you use it. It was approved by the MLB. And the Yankees used it in the first few games.
So when you say it's supposed to hit better, in what context?
Like further, it makes hitting easier, I guess.
Okay.
And it is allowed by the MLB. But we don't have to talk about that. Let's move on.
Actually, no, but I'm curious because I had no idea.
There's a
about
lot of
anything
sports content here on Cultura.
Cultura
Talks and
Cultura
Cultura
TV,
Media House, Cultura
76
TV,
Sports.
76 Sports,
Yes.
El Big League Show. There's a lot of people that.
No, but no. I am interested just because again, that's not an area that I necessarily know a lot about, and so
That's the one thing about you, Boo.
I know. You know,
I could talk sports a little bit, and we never talk sports here on Pero. Let me tell you, because
it's the reason that I don't really. Well, that's like you in comics, right? So it's a little. We just that's our blind spots.
Yeah. Although you are smart enough to if I tell you, oye, beat the touchdown que hicieron los Marlins, that you'll be like, come on.
Be like, sir, come now. It was clearly a goal.
It was a goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so how's everybody doing this week? ¿Qué está pasando?
Everybody's doing all right. Everybody's doing pretty cool. So a couple things happened this past couple of days that I want to bring up. Actually, the first one that I wanted to bring up was something that I just want to talk about it in a very the two things I'm gonna bring up are I want to speak of them in generalities. But the first one is so I know you watch SNL.
Yes.
Did you watch this past week?
I did not.
You did not. Okay, I didn't either. But you know, everybody's all.
I was literally with you at a pop-up.
Oh, that's right. We were. Well, sometimes you watch it the next day or when we get home. So, you know, there's a whole hubbub now because country singer Morgan Wallen
walked off.
He walked off and he walked off and he was saying,
I have a question before you go on.
Okay. Are you going to ask who's Morgan Wallen?
Who's Morgan Wallen?
Okay. I knew you were going to ask that. So he's
I don't. Okay. You know what another blind spot of mine
country
is?
music.
Country music.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Outside of Dolly Reba, that's it. That's his Kenny Rogers. That's his extent of country music.
I know Carrie Underwood, but I don't like her face. So
right.
I don't know.
We're just talking pre or post accident.
Just in general.
Okay. All right.
She's a pretty girl. I just don't like her face. That's about it.
Okay. But these are people, but they're like, like Garth Brooks, know.
There's only 2 country songs that I like.
Okay.
There's 3 actually.
Okay.
I like Country Road by John Denver, although I don't know if that will qualify.
I don't know if that's a country song.
Country Road.
No, I don't know if that's country or folk.
I like that song.
Okay.
Whatever genre it is.
Okay.
And I like the Tim McGraw. I was skydiving. I was Rocky Mountain climbing. Live like you were dying.
Yes, Live Like You Were Dying.
I actually love that song. Okay. And there's another Tim McGraw song that I like that I don't remember what it is. But there's 3 country songs that I like in the whole genre.
In the whole genre, that's around over 100 years old.
Yes.
3
Not
songs.
even Beyonce's Cowboy Carter makes that cut.
Okay, fair enough. And as we discussed, Dolly Parton is a separate. She's country, but she's a genre unto herself.
Yeah, she's Dolly Parton.
She's Dolly Parton, right? There's country music and there's Dolly Parton.
So when Morgan Wallen walked off the stage,
you were like, and you are?
And you are who?
Right. So he is a country singer. I only know him because my sister and the boys really like him, and he has a bar in Nashville and the whole. So he's very country. He's very country. He's
a lot of things that are not me.
He's very of the moment, right?
Yes.
Okay. So for those who don't know, he was on the show, and then he basically, when SNL ends, everybody lines up, and you kind of do the whole like, oh my god, what a great week, and
they all kiss each other like Latin people,
right? Yeah, everybody's ethnic for a moment, and then the curtain drops, goes to black, and then everybody leaves, I guess, or whatever. So apparently, in mid thing, he just walked off, like he was just like done, and he said, as he walked off, he said, going back to God, I'm going back to God's country.
Well, he put it in his Instagram post.
Well, right. Was he saying, we're going back to God's country? Now, my first instinct was like Israel. But then because according to the Bible, they are the chosen. When I think God's country, I don't think Nashville. So he has now since turned around and basically he's turned that into a t-shirt. So now this gentleman who was asked to perform on a show of his own free will, accepted, for whatever reason when he was on there, decided that he was now being put upon, has turned this into an opportunity to turn it into a cash grab situation.
I mean, capitalism, bro.
Like, I'm like, sir, you are, if nothing else, I think you're stupid, but I think you're a genius at marketing. Because you know what? How you accept a gig and then you're going to make yourself the victim? Like, they didn't put you at gunpoint to go there.
Okay, I have a lot of questions about this.
I don't know if I have answers, but we're going to go there.
My first question I already asked.
Yeah.
My second question is, why is this such a big deal?
Well, exactly. I mean,
I read about it. I read about it.
Right.
It was all over the news.
Right.
So I was like, did this guy take off his pants in front of everybody in the SNL in Studio 20?
Fight the real enemies.
Like what did he do? Right. So when I saw what he did, I was like, ¿Tú sabes lo que me pasó a mí con eso?
Okay.
We're going to get a little dirty here, pero let me tell you.
Ooh.
Me pasó lo mismo than Two Girls in a Cup. I read so...
Okay,
do you know
what?
Do you know where my curiosity about Two Girls in a
Because
Cup
that was
came?
definitely not God's
Do you know
country.
my... I mean, this show, we could curse on, pero let me tell you.
Yes, that is the right reaction.
Okay, do you know where my curiosity from Two Girls in a Cup came?
Family Guy?
From Family Guy. From Stewie watching it. That was like, what is this? And then when I saw it on Family Guy with Stewie watching it, I looked up people's reactions
Because that
online.
was what the thing was.
I looked at people's reactions because that's what went viral. So I was like hours looking at people's reaction. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch this shit. That's wrong.
No, that's
wrong
the right.
choice
No,
of
it's the
words.
right choice of word.
It is. I'm not gonna watch this. And I was reading about it and I was watching all these people's reactions. And then when I finally saw it, I was like, first of all, this is fake. And second of all, this is stupid. Like,
Right.
so the same thing happened to me with Morgan Wallace.
Oh, Wallen.
That when I saw him walking off stage, I'm like, he walked off stage. Like, well,
Right, like maybe he had diarrhea.
Maybe he didn't know that he had to hang out there. I mean, who knows? Like,
Right.
who knows, right?
Right.
But, it's like making a big deal out of nothing.
Which is what we do nowadays,
A bit like this outrage. Like, where's the outrage? Like, he just walked off stage. Like, I wouldn't have thought about it twice.
But again, it was force fed into all of our feeds and all that.
As far as,
Are those your only two questions?
the God's country thing that he put on Instagram after, I don't know, like maybe he was going to church the next day. I don't know. Like, there's so much with that whole controversy. There's so much like speculation,
Right.
that it's like, okay, let's completely build this narrative
Right.
about this,
Right,
which
right.
we don't really know either. Like,
Or care. It's like when Lena Dunham had that whole moment, in her head when she sat down next to that basketball player at that charity function thing.
what?
Okay, we talked about this.
Oh, is that when she said that he was looking at her or whatever?
Right, that she was sitting next to like some athlete and she was like, I know he's thinking that I'm this. And you know what? Brr. And like afterwards he was like, I don't even know who you are. Like I have nothing to talk about here with this,
Junior, did you know who Morgan Wallace was?
Wallen. Oh God, Junior's joking.
Yes.
Don't choke, Junior.
What does he sing? What does he sing that I should know?
I couldn't tell you.
I know he made a song with a rapper that I think it was called like Broadway Girls,
Okay.
based on Broadway in Nashville. But that's it. I know he got in trouble before.
Yeah, he had some type of kerfuffle. I don't remember what it was about, but yeah.
I think he got caught on tape like saying slurs or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's
I did read that. I did read
he's-
that.
I
He's a
think
pip.
it was
He's a pip.
around an SNL time too, but
Yeah. He's
Okay.
a
I
real
don't
pip
really know
of a
him too
human
much.
being. Yeah.
You know why? Because I like to think I stay relevant insofar that I know things that are going on in the pop culture.
At least a passing
sphere.
knowledge. Yeah.
And I hadn't heard of this gentleman. I was like, who walked off of the SNL stage? And why do I care?
Darian was like, why was Morgan Freeman at SNL? Like, I don't understand.
I mean, Morgan Freeman is the voice of God. So, I mean.
That's true. He can walk off the stage when he likes.
So, I mean, whatever. Turn it into an opportunity, bro.
Yeah, again.
But what is the
100%.
t-shirt of?
I think it's literally just, I'm sure it's an American flag. And it says, I'm going back to God's country or something like that, which is just like, I mean, the only way that America is God's country is if you're a Mormon and you believe in the whole myth of Robert Smith.
I'm going to
Joseph, thank you. Robert Smith is the cure. Joseph, which has his own myth, really, if we're going to go that route. Joseph Smith, who basically said that, Jesus was here in the U.S. when it was created about 100 years ago.
Our listeners will not see this, but our viewers will. Read what I put there.
Oh, 1,000%.
For sure.
Oh, 1,000%.
I don't even know who he is, and just based on what you told me, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
I'm 1,000%.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
But we love everybody here on Pero. Let me tell you.
Everybody. But yeah. I don't love everybody. I just don't wish ill upon everybody, but I don't love everybody.
So now that I'm thinking about this,
About God's country?
no.
Mormonism?
No. So it's
Cure?
something a little tragic. So spring break is over. I think we got off well in spring break this year.
No, I didn't hear anything crazy.
No. But so that was good for a spring break week. But then we had Ultra.
Which was, I went to an
Last
event.
week.
It was fun.
And apparently there were some people who drowned because they jumped in the river.
Oh, so I saw something about that, but I didn't know exactly what happened. Like, I don't know if it's that they jumped in the river.
There
they
was like
fell in the
apparently
river.
a dare that they jumped into the river, and I'm
Off the
pretty
Miami
sure,
River, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure one or two of them drowned.
I know there was 2 people missing. I didn't hear anything after
Yeah,
that.
and they found a body floating in the Miami River yesterday, and it's like, as a parent, these are the things now that I worry about my child eventually doing stupid stuff like that.
Okay, Jason Seaver, but that can happen to anybody.
Jump into the river.
Look, anybody can jump in or fall or get, pushed.
What do you think is a stupid? Okay, when you look at your 20-year-old self now,
Okay.
what do you think is the stupidest thing you did in like your youth? And when I mean youth, I mean in like your
Early 20s, mid.
late teens, early 20s. I know what I did. That was stupid.
I'm trying to think. Probably the single stupidest thing I did was, and again, this is there's a lot to choose from. But that just pops into my head was just like when a friend of mine literally came up to me at the club, popped an ecstasy pill in my mouth, and I had just bought an apple martini, and I was like, well, this thing was $20. So I just downed it with that instead of like, getting water.
Okay, well, I didn't think we were going to go the illegal drug use route on this.
Well, you said something stupid. I mean, like,
Okay, wait. Repeat that story again?
okay, so I was working at Carnival at the time, and a friend of mine who also worked at Carnival, we ran into each other at the club at Coliseum. And he just came up to me. I was like, hey, what's up? He's like, hey, boop. And he just put like, a pill in my mouth. And I was like, okay.
You just let people put pills in your mouth?
That's not the worst thing I've let people put in my mouth. And so, then I just bought a sour apple martini, which, cause it was the early 2000s. That's what we were drinking. And it was like $20. And I was like, well, fuck that. This was expensive. Again, I'm in my early 20s. I'm not making money. So I wasn't going to throw it out. So I downed it and, had a night that I'm sure was fun and I don't really remember.
Wow. I did not expect this conversation to go that way. I was going to say that the stupidest thing I did in my early 20s was that I wasn't really into car culture and I was into racing big time.
Okay, but that's illegal too.
Yeah, that was illegal. I lost control of my car on a one-way street going to the Keys at 145 miles an hour. That's where I was going with that I was really stupid. I used to race people. I thought I was dumb in the Fast and the Furious.
Because that was, and you are about family. So like, yes.
Because I would have been Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
That's where I was sort of going with that.
But let's break it down. We were both doing things that were illegal, and that could have resulted in death.
That is true.
Very different routes, but same result.
Knowing who even we are today, that is very consistent with who we are.
Yeah. It would have been great if it would have been the other way around, right? If I'd been like this one day I was drag racing and I just peeled out on like Biscayne Boulevard and almost took out a family of 4.
That's not funny.
Well, it's funny because I didn't do it.
Right. Or if I would have told you right here about my like drug use.
Right. You would just been like, oh, there was that one weekend I don't remember in the Keys. It was just an orgy, a drug-filled orgy, Or,
I can't even say that playing around with a straight face because that's so not what I would have ever done. I mean, my living on the edge was that. My living on the edge would have been jumping off the pier in South Beach.
You say that, but you've been bungee jumping. So don't
I have
sell
been
yourself short.
bungee jumping.
And you jumped out of an airplane.
I jumped off an airplane. I jumped off a cable car in the Swiss Alps.
Right. So don't sell yourself short.
Oh my God, that story. So it's funny because I was telling a friend that story this week. That I was in the Swiss Alps with my parents and we were in a cable car overlooking Mount Titulus. I remember this. And the cable car stops between both, the mountains as it does. And the doors open up and they're like, who wants to bungee jump? And I had already signed up for it. I just hadn't told my parents. My mom was like, no. Ay, Dios mío. My mom was like, she did such malo papele. And I'm like, Mom, I'm in Switzerland. I'm between 2 mountains in the air. If now, when?
I mean, what's the worst that can happen? You die a neutral death. They cover you in some milk chocolate and call it a day.
So I just jumped off the cable car. I'm not afraid of heights. I went bungee jumping a couple of times. I ain't afraid of heights.
Now, if you had bungee jumped and you looked down and you saw what is it, the trickle-tilla, like a big old box of straws, then you wouldn't have jumped.
Don't get me with the box of straws.
Then you wouldn't have jumped.
I mean, I remember when I went bungee jumping, and we went with a very good friend of ours. Well, you didn't go. You watched from the ground.
No, that was parachuting.
Yeah, we went skydiving. I remember being at the edge of the plane it was my turn, and me thinking, I'm scared that I'm not scared. I was so like, can we just do it already? Like, I already went through the safety drill. Just jump off
And
already.
also, you were doing tandem. So
I was doing tandem.
There's someone there with you.
But you're jumping out of 20,000 feet.
No. But
right?
to your what I'm saying, to your credit, you're like, look, there's someone who knows what they're doing.
Right. But I was just like, we're on the edge because, you stand there on the edge. And then since it's tandem, I'm first, and my knees were like halfway out. I'm like, can we just jump already? Like, what's up with this nonsense of waiting till the other person is further away? Let's just jump. The air is infinite. And I remember thinking like,
now that should be our t-shirt.
I remember thinking like, I should be a little concerned, right? Like, I'm going to jump off an airplane. I'm like, can we go with it already?
But see, that's the type of thing that I would have loved to have done. I don't think I would do now.
Like weight restrictions.
Okay, first of all, fuck you for calling me fat on air. There's that. But I just think that there's just something about like
jumping in your 40s. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's just like all I can think of is like,
wait, you won't bungee? You won't skydive in your 40s?
I would have to think twice about it.
Junior, do you want to go skydiving?
Do you know why? Because I have like
Sure.
what I start thinking about is todos los dolores that I have.
Que dolores. All your spine will go.
Well, okay. Is that what is that the medical term?
It's a great chiropractic adjustment to go bungee jump, to go skydiving. Junior, let's go skydiving. 1-800-SKYDIVE.
Let's do it.
I have video of me skydiving. We
sure
could
do.
incorporate it into the
We
video.
sure do. This is the real, kids. This is the real, and you're gonna watch him. As I like to say, that was the day we all watched him plummet to the earth.
Plummet to the earth.
Plummet to the earth.
Nothing more.
Nope, nothing less.
Donna Junior, let's go 1-800-SKYDIVE.
Is that still around?
I don't know.
We've just advertised for them twice.
Do you know what I do every now and then, just for fun?
You dial 888.
No, I call it 305-976 duck.
Does someone answer?
No.
Okay. That would be the better part. Is if somebody's answering her, like they're like, "Hello." Finally, someone's calling us again.
The party line. I mean, that was before our time, but I remember.
It was, but it wasn't because
we were little kids.
Darian, those commercials were all on Channel 33 after like 10 o'clock at night.
Oh no! We used to watch all of them.
Right.
We used to watch all of them.
Yeah.
But we were kids.
No, we were kids. Right.
We were
what I
not
mean is
the
that
demographic.
No. But they were around, is what I meant.
Yeah.
Like, yes. Yeah.
Feeling lonely tonight? Want to talk with other singles in your area? 305-976. Well, back then they didn't say 305.
Right, it was just 976.
It was 976 duck.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, why duck?
For sexy singles in your area. And they were always like super like Vaseline lensed. Everyone's hair was so feathered it looked like a goose down pillow. Like,
how did we get here?
because you plummeted to the earth. That's how it happened.
Wait, we should go skydiving for our 500th episode.
I will seriously think about it. Let's put it that way.
¿Tú le tienes miedo?
It's one of those things where I don't think I'm a frightened person, but then there's just certain things where I'm like, oh no. Like I would have to think about it. I don't know why. I feel like the older I get for certain things, my perspective.
No, I
has
don't think
shifted.
about it. I just think about weight limits. I'm like, oh no, because I'm heavier now. I'm like, oh, yo no quiero pasar la pena. I'm more
that's
concerned
true.
about
Okay,
la pena than the, jumping through 20,000 feet.
You don't want them to have to use like 2 parachutes. I don't know how that works.
If you don't do it for our 500th episode, I'm going Jumping with Junior.
Which should also be the name of a new show.
Jumping with Junior. That could be the opening credits. Junior.
Yeah.
Jumping with Junior.
Yes, done. Change approved.
Wait, what song? What theme song going to be? Jump for my love. Jumping.
I was thinking you got to go original.
What?
No, I'm saying you got to create an original song.
Right.
It's like
get ready to jump.
Right, well, no, you don't. Original, not Madonna.
Okay. Or Pointer
Or
Sisters.
Pointer Sisters, or
Might as well jump. Might as well
you know
jump.
what?
That's
No.
Van Halen.
Go the other route. Lean into that curve. every episode starts with a different song that has
About jump?
Right. So it's like one song is just like Jumpin, Jumpin with Junior.
Okay, no. You know what's the best jump song? Kris Kross.
That's right.
That is
Jump with Junior.
Okay, that
Jump,
is okay.
jump.
There are a lot of songs with the I will die on that hill. There's a lot of songs with the word jump in the title, but the best song is Jump by Kris Kross. The Mac Dad will make you
Jump, jump.
Kris Kross will make you
Jump, jump.
Daddy Mac will make you
Jump, jump. Now,
okay. That's
the reality of this and that is that Kris Kross ain't coming off whack. And for all y'all suckers that don't know, check it out.
You got to be over the age of 40 to get that reference, but now over the age of 35.
Bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either a late Gen Xer or older millennial will get that.
Yeah.
That song is so good. That song is so good. Yeah. I remember that a couple of months ago or some time ago in the morning, Elvis Duran played it in the morning zoo, and it was so good that they played it twice. Because everybody in the studio was like jumping around.
It's just one of those songs that you know, but you forget you know.
Because it's 11:30 and the club is jumping.
Yes.
Dun 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 dun.
Don't. Wait, what did she say? There's in the album. There's an interlude, isn't there?
Yeah, because that song is from the album The Writing's on the Wall, and each song ended with like the interlude to the next song.
Right. Very Janet Jackson.
No, what's the one for Jumpin'? Oh, you got to know Destiny's Child catalog to know this. Thou shalt know she can't love you. Like, I don't know. It was something like
something. Again, I know it was something. Yes, but I can't remember what it is now. So, viewers,
okay. Okay. So, wait, what topic did we start this with? Morgan Wallace. Okay.
Wallen.
Morgan Wallen.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yes. So he's decided to capitalize on his moment.
I mean, good for him.
And good for him. Listen, how you and I have not put out a lemon shirt at this point is beyond us.
I love all the people that keep sending us content about like the history of lemons and like how lemons are fake.
I will tell you one thing I know for certain is that this podcast will not die of scurvy.
No.
Based off of just the
We've learned so much about citrus.
We could apply for a job with if that department that the canker still existed, we could probably do really well.
I mean, we're experts at citrus.
We are. We're citrus experts now. We're CEs. Yeah.
So what other dangerous shit won't we do?
I'm trying to think. I mean, there's dangerous, and then there's just like looking back, it's like
that girl is so
stupid.
Dangerous. Okay, go ahead.
No. I was just saying, like, it's just things that, like, there's some stuff that I looking back would be
so
like,
listeners,
and especially because we didn't have phones.
What danger? We had phones when we were in our early 20s.
Not in the same way that we have them
we didn't
now.
have smartphones, but
right, not in the same way. And it was like one of those things.
Tampoco don't make us sound like we were from the Fred Flintstone era.
No. But what I mean is, like, it wasn't the same thing. So, like, sometimes, once smartphones came into the picture, at least I sometimes would be like, okay, I'm going out, and it'd be like, send my friend like, hey, this is where I'm going to be in case anything goes, sideways.
Junior, what are some stupid shit you did in your early 20s? Listeners, what did you do in your early 20s?
Yeah. You've already heard what the two extremes are here. Yeah. It's either drug use on the dance floor or almost careening off of the keys.
I slept in my car for 2 days at the roof of the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino because I was drunk and I was playing a poker tournament that then I qualified for the next poker tournament, which was like 6 hours later, but I couldn't drive. And I just went back to my Dodge Ram and I slept there.
That's not dangerous, though. There's security there.
There's security there. And again, it was a result of you having been successful the night before.
Growing up the way that I grew up, it's very dangerous.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Todo te va a matar, va para la cárcel.
Wait, you slept on
Broward.
Wait, you slept in your car or outside of your car, like in the bed?
In my car.
Okay, because I was going to say, if you would have slept in the bed of the car, what would have gotten to him?
It's
sereno.
You wouldn't be here today. We'd have a different producer.
Yeah. Junior, that is the most dangerous thing we've been exposed
to. That's true. The most dangerous thing we've ever done is gone out at dusk.
The mist. The mystical mist.
I'm pretty sure Stephen King just has Cuban friends. And that's what he came up with, the mist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other dangerous shit have I done? Okay, well, they don't work there anymore. So,
Are you gonna say something about Bennigan's? Like,
when I lived downtown, I lived in a high rise, and right before I moved, I had somebody take me to the roof, and I walked in the ledge of the building. Not scared at all. I was just like, vengo una ventolera.
oh no.
Because I was on the ledge.
Okay, I wouldn't have gone to the ledge.
No, if I'm going big or going home. Like,
No, and then if you would have fallen, you would have fallen big.
well, there was no turning back at that point.
Well,
so I
that's
was
true. Nothing to hold on to.
Yeah, I was like, I have some really good pictures from the roof of the building. Because it was always my goal. I'm like, before I leave this building, I'm going to go to that roof. I don't know how, but I'm going to the roof. And I did go on the roof. That was that's pretty dangerous.
That is pretty dangerous.
That is pretty dangerous. Because there was no net. I mean, the ledge was pretty thick. Like, the ledge was like maybe the width of this table.
Yes, but again, all you need is one strong gust of wind, and your building was fucking windy.
Yes. Actually, I would say that's the most dangerous thing that I've done.
I'm gonna ask that you amend your previous statement.
That was pretty dangerous. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't recommend that to anyone. Do not try that at home.
Kids, don't do what I do.
Do not. Just go bungee jumping.
Right. Although now Tristan's gonna hear this and he's gonna be like, "Papa,
shut up.
Can I go on the roof of the house?"
Let's move along.
Wouldn't you let him go on the roof of the house?
No, because I don't have a ladder that's that tall, and Tristan doesn't know there's an attic in the house, and I'm not going to tell him because then he's going to want to go in the attic, and I don't know, maybe he's going to want to move in there, and that's going to cause a whole problem. So
he won't want to live in the attic; it's too hot.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move right along.
Nobody goes from the tundra that is.
Have you ever
house.
seen Flowers in the Attic?
Of course, I have. I've seen both versions.
There's more than one.
The original and then the Lifetime version.
I was like, oh, that must be swell.
It's not that bad because
is it with Candace Cameron Bure?
That would be fantastic. The mother was played by Heather Graham, and then the girl was played by esta muchachita Kiernan Shipka from Mad Men. So it was well acted.
There's somebody who hangs himself, right?
Is there?
Okay, I'm confusing Flowers in the Attic with The Secret Garden. Is there a movie called The Secret Garden?
There isn't. It's a book as well.
And there's an eclipse in it, right?
In The Secret Garden?
Yeah.
I have no clue.
We're now confusing a third movie.
I've never read The Secret Garden.
Isn't there also a movie with a Winnebago that's flying?
If there is, it is neither Secret Garden nor...
There is a movie with a Winnebago
that
that is flying. I know this.
No, I don't doubt it, but I'm going to tell you it is not Flowers in the Attic or Secret Garden.
But why am I thinking of the Winnebago flying over a garden?
A flying Winnebago.
Junior, can you look that up while we talk about this?
Is that Spaceballs? What do you?
Yeah, like
flying Winnebago.
Right, the flying Winnebago. I'm thinking is either Spaceballs, where it was the shuttle, or doesn't like the motorhome fly off in Christmas Vacation?
No. I know that movie really well.
Right. But these are the only two things.
I'm thinking of a Winnebago flying.
My favorite part of this, though, is that you thought that was going to be Flowers in the Attic. That somewhere in this movie about mother locking her children up in the attic and whatever.
Okay, the thing is, there's people listening to this. I am looking at the Winnebago flying. There's people listening to us right now or watching us that know what I'm talking about.
They're yelling at us
and
right
I
now.
can't think about it.
No, Junior can't find it, and Junior
Everything is Spaceballs.
Yeah, and let me say something. Junior is very good with the quick the quick search.
Well, first of all, how do you spell Winnebago?
I'm gonna go with Winne.
Now, are you talking about Escape to Witch Mountain?
Yes, with the blonde girl. That it's a Disney movie.
Boom.
That's a flying Winnebago.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
No.
It is a flying Winnebago. No,
Don't
it is
yes
a flying
me.
Winnebago.
No, yes me. Because I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing here.
It is a flying
You're trying
Winnebago.
to make me sound like a stupid, like I'm crazy, that I'm doing one of these mashups in my head.
You are, because you thought it was the Flowers in the Attic or the Secret
but you
Garden.
looked at me all weird, like, what's a flying Winnebago? I'm like, I am looking at the flying Winnebago.
No.
And now I just thought about a dragon in a lighthouse. Where
Pete's Dragon?
Pete's Dragon. Wait, tell me more about Escape from Witch Mountain.
That's with
There's a girl with blonde
Yes, it's the-
70s hair.
Yeah,
like
it's the two kids that they're like telekinetic.
They're what?
Telekinetic. Like they can control things with their mind.
Oh, okay.
And
Two
they
paranormal orphans.
there we go, as one does.
Yeah.
Orphans?
Orphans.
Flowers in the Attic?
Yes, but these two did not have incest.
That's what Flowers in the Attic is about?
Well, not only about it, but yes.
What year is that movie from?
1975.
Who plays the cab driver or the adult in that movie?
Melissa Gilbert? I don't know.
No, I want to say Eddie Albert, but I don't know why.
Eddie who?
From Green Acres.
A caballo.
Yes, the horse.
Eddie Albert.
That's Mr. Ed. It was Eddie Albert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jason O'Day.
Okay. And then Betty Davis was in the sequel, Return to Witch Mountain.
Okay. So you mean to tell me that you even know about the sequel of this movie and you were looking at me like I had a horn in my head when I told you about a flying Winnebago?
Because I don't remember the Flying Winnebago.
But the flying Winnebago is the whole point of the movie.
No, that's not the whole point of the movie. They're escaping from things. I don't think the
In a
Winnebago
flying Winnebago.
I don't think it always flies.
Man, there is a flying Winnebago in that movie.
I'm not saying
I am
there
looking
isn't.
at the Winnebago flying.
I'm not saying there isn't. Wow. Also, this is probably the most anybody has said Winnebago in a row. And I don't even know how long.
Do they still even make Winnebagos?
I think they just call them RVs now.
A recreational vehicle?
Yeah. It's easier to say.
Isn't it weird that jet skis is the brand? It's not what it is.
What is the thing called?
A watercraft or a water something.
Because a wave runner is different than a jet ski.
Yes. No, a jet ski is the brand. Wingeki.
Wait,
It's sort of like
I thought
a band-aid is a bandage.
right, but a bandage is not a band-aid.
Right.
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 Okay, I thought jet ski was the thing and like Sea-Doo was
No,
the brand.
no, I think it's a watercraft.
A water, but that could be anything. A watercraft could be a boat.
I don't know, a recreational watercraft.
That sounds like one of those duck boats.
Okay, whatever. The point is that I remember this flying Winnebago.
No, and like I said, I had no doubt that you remembered it. I was like, it was not Flowers in the Attic or The Secret Garden. I can tell you that much because I think The Secret Garden's about a girl with polio.
you enjoy this.
Well, it is fun for me.
Yeah, but I think that you're very opportunistic because then I say things and you're like, oh, I don't know what it is. When inside you do know what it is.
Actually, my favorite part of it is trying to untangle the mashups.
Yeah, I didn't mash up with the flying Winnebago. What is it? Escape from Witch Mountain?
Yeah.
Yep. 1975.
Okay, Witch has a bruja, right?
Yes, because they have powers. So,
Oh,
yes.
I thought it was Escape from Witch Mountain. That's not one of Disney's most famous movies. I will.
I don't know which mountain.
Escape from Witch Mountain. That's what I thought it was. That's,
The sequel, they still can't figure it out.
Can't figure it out. They're like, is it that one?
Which mountain now?
It's just Betty Davis going, I don't know which mountain.
Like, look who's talking now. Which mountain now? Which?
okay, let's move on from.
Meanwhile, they did remake that movie
Let's
not
move
that long
on
ago with The Rock.
Wait, what?
They remade that movie, and the Eddie Albert role was played by The Rock.
By Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, no, the other Rock.
Sean Connery.
Yeah, like
Welcome to The Rock.
yes.
That movie is so good. The Rock.
I mean, it's classic.
The Rock. Welcome to The Rock. Okay, let's move on from this. We've given too much airtime to this flying Winnebago on a mountain. Wait. Pete's dragon is the dragon in the lighthouse, right? Okay. I just remember being in kindergarten and being like, why is there an animated dragon in a lighthouse? I didn't speak a lot of English, so I had a lot of questions.
Did you think that's just what happened at lighthouses?
I was like, pero esa cosa verde.
En el farol.
En un farol. I was like, is that in a farito? Like,
It would have been great because I think they were all Irish.
no,
in that
I think
movie.
that was another thing. I thought that the only faro was the one in El Farito. I was like, oh, there's lighthouses there. I was Cuban. I did
That's
whatever.
true. And then Ace of Base went there.
What?
Ace of Base was at the lighthouse in El Farito.
Oh, that's where they shot.
That's where they shot Don't Turn Around.
Which I did not know was a Tina Turner song.
That's right. I didn't know until we went to.
Actually, I knew a little bit before because I had heard like after she died, they were playing some songs of her, like not that popular songs of her. And there was something that I watched. I was like, oh, she just sings "Don't Turn Around," and that makes me think: how many songs are there that are remakes that we don't know about?
More than we know.
Yeah,
like I mean, one of the favorite one that you love to point out is "Waiting for Tonight."
Oh yeah, "Waiting for Tonight" by Jennifer Lopez is a remake of another song that sounds just like it,
and I had
and it had come out right before.
Yeah.
And then haters will be like, "Oh, the other one is so much. The other one is so much better.
It's so much better. I love Unknown Artist.
Whatever.
You know, and like, what is it? Vuela Vuela is a
It's a French song. Voyage,
song.
Voyage.
Right. Which is not the same.
No,
because Voyage Voyage would have been like Viaje Viaje.
Viaje, viaje. Si te hace falta equipaje,
y un pasaporte.
That could have been like the official song of American Airlines. No, of Avianca.
Avianca, yes. Aeromexico.
Right, because
yes. Magneto.
Magneto was Mexican.
That's right. Yes. Yes. But instead they promoted Tang.
Listeners, do you remember Magneto and Vuela Vuela?
I think, I don't know any of their other songs. And I'm sure they had others because they were big. They were huge. But I don't know.
They had a ballad after that one. Tú eres alguien para siempre. Cuando me sube la melancolía, me recuerdo de esos inolvidables días. Tú eres algo. Siempre Domingo.
Oh, okay.
That's why I know. Okay, what else did you have?
Oh, Siempre en Domingo. So I want to bring something up that's, I hate to use the word controversial because that's such a word. But not earlier today.
More controversial than Escape to Witch Mountain?
Well, and we'll never know which one. So earlier this week, I made the mistake of responding to a troll on a comment on Instagram.
On our account?
So it wasn't on our account. It was on an Only in Dade's post.
Right, but you responded as Pedro.
Through us, yes.
Right.
Yes,
I saw it.
Yes.
I saw it because I opened up our Instagram. I'm like, what's going on?
Yes.
But then I added to it. But go ahead.
Yeah. Again, reminder, even hate comments feed the algorithm. Ding. So basically there's this whole thing about like fluoride and they're removing the fluoride from the water and whatever, this and that. But it just never ceases to amaze me how people just like everybody's favorite thing now to say is like, do your research, inform yourself. So I did. And so there's a lot of people out there now who are saying like fluoride in the water is harmful and it's awful and it's this and that. And you know what? Yes, in excess, yes, fluoride in the water can harm a pregnant woman's birth, the baby in utero and affect their potential brain development. Also, it can lead to, and I wrote this down because I wasn't going to remember it, like spinal deformities, bone fractures. There's also skeletal fluorisis or dental fluorisis. So overexposure can lead to all these things. Overexposure fluoride, right?
So my question is,
absolutely.
My question would be
where did you source?
No, but what is overexposure?
Right. So glad you asked that. I did a deep
dive.
I
think it's the only logical question, right?
Well, here's the thing. So I was like, you know what?
Because I'm
going to inform myself.
But you know what though? Because this is what, for example, water, like water, pure water, spring water, virgin spring water. You can have water poisoning.
Thank you.
You can drink too much water and have water poisoning.
That's part of
in
what
fact, there was a kid a few years ago, or like 10 or some years ago at the University of Miami that rushed, and he had to drink water, and he died of water poisoning.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up. So I did, again, I took your advice, internet. I informed myself. So I looked it up, and I said, okay, so how much fluoride is in the average water, right? So it's 0.7 milligrams per every 2 liters of water. Now, 2 liters of water is the average of, 1 liter of water, I think, is like 8 cups. So so I think you have to drink like 2 liters. No, 2 liters of water gives you 8 cups of water, which is the 8 glasses is the recommended, right? So in total a day, you would probably get about 1.4 milligrams of fluoride. Like, let's say if you drink all 8 glasses, you get 1.4 milligrams. Now, the reality of it is that most people are severely dehydrated. So you're not even getting the full 1.4. Fine. Now, the nearest comparison to that I would say is, well, obviously we brush our teeth. Now, dentists all say we should brush our teeth after every meal. Reality, we probably brush it when we wake up and we go to bed, right? Twice a day. So the average toothpaste amount that we use on a toothbrush has 1.3 milligrams of fluoride. So if you brush twice, that's 2.6 milligrams. Okay.
And you're also not swallowing that.
Well, you're not swallowing it, but it is in your mouth.
Okay.
It is in your mouth, and it does. The point is for the fluoride to retain itself so that your teeth can help the enamel. So to recap, when you brush your teeth twice a day, you have 2.6 milligrams of fluoride that you're potentially ingesting or exposing to yourself, versus the 1.4 milligrams.
So that's 4
that you get.
We're at 4.
Okay, so we're at 4 now. The tolerable upper level intake of fluoride in the average adult is 10 milligrams, which means that you've got 4, you're taking 4 milligrams, you've still got 6 you're under, right? So in other words, you're still under the amount. Now, people are like, no, because it's too much. And
I think I actually read on it. I think it's much more than that.
Much more than
like what you're saying. Like I forgot the numbers, but because I actually saw recently something on Wired about, so Wired.com has this series of videos that it's called Blank Tech, like science tech, civil engineering tech, medical tech, where they talk about different things. And what they were saying was that in order for you to drink, because obviously people are talking about this now, in order for you to drink, be subject to like intoxication from fluoride.
Over fluoride,
it was an amount of water that is almost impossible to drink a day.
Well, here's the thing.
That it's like almost inhumanly possible.
What you were mentioning earlier about water intoxication in some people can happen even with only 4 liters of water. So they're recommending you drink 2 liters a day. Some people can even have that water intoxication happen at 4 liters of water. So even if you're drinking 4, that's 2.8 milligrams of fluoride. So you're still, you would be dying or in danger from the water before the levels of fluoride.
You know what? I just find.
And listen, I understand. Look, part of science is things change and things evolve, right? At one point, nobody knew smoking was bad for you, right? And then you learn and you evolve and you shift. So listen, I'm not saying maybe, I know that the fluoride in the water started in like the 40s when they discovered that there were some areas out west that when they started introducing fluoride into the water, it reduced the cavities in the children. And again, you can make the argument that now with all the advances we've made with toothpaste and you may not need it as much. Fair enough. But my big thing with this is that this has become this like hill I'm going to die on, fluoride.
Yeah.
And it's been in the last 6 months.
Yeah. That's
what I don't understand.
I will never understand the culture we live in now that people have selective outrage. It's like a few months ago, I bet you half of the United States didn't even know there was fluoride in the water, right?
They didn't even know how to spell fluoride.
Right. They didn't even know probably what it was, right? But now people have become experts on fluoride.
Right.
Like overnight.
I love that they're it's a neurotoxin.
What I don't know if it's based on my educational background, because I realize that because of my legal training,
okay, but I don't have legal training.
But where I'm getting at, I realize that because of my legal training, I break down the way I think differently. And before that, I studied psychology. That's where my undergrad degrees are. And, I was subject sort of in the field of psychology and the study of psychology in like journals, medical journals, peer reviews, right? So whenever I do my research, I look at a Harvard study, a peer review study, journal.
You don't look at a study by like hotbabehealthy.com?
Those are the things I look at. Like I believe in peer review. That is the standard in science, right? I just don't understand how people base their opinions, like their hardcore opinion, on influencers, on people that say they're experts but have absolutely no credentials to back up that expertise. Because I think what sometimes people forget is that a scientist, and that's not to say there can't be a scientist that's incorrect. Science is evolving. Science is evolving. It's constantly evolving, right? The amount of research, people that are in science and medicine devote their life to the study of X, right? The amount of research, and I have seen this firsthand. I have personally seen this firsthand. The amount of research that scientists put into something is, we can't even begin to imagine the amount of time and dedication and talent and expertise. And it's a team and working with different universities and different scientists and collaborations, sometimes even internationally for the study of something. It is something that is daunting, the amount of work that goes into it. And yet there's other people that claim to be experts that have absolutely no type of scientific training or medical training or credentials, but they say they're an expert of something. Oh, because I did this, I cut, glucose. Remember when glucose was the enemy that, this was like 10, 12 years ago, that everything started being glucose free. Right, remember that? And then what was the other one? The one of is it glucose or one in
gluten.
Gluten was what it was.
I was like, how do you make
gluten? That everybody was like, oh, we can't have gluten. Remember when gluten was the enemy? Right. That all of a sudden people are like, oh, we can't have gluten, and you go to and there are people that do have adverse reactions to gluten. That is true, but. Taking those people aside, I remember when everybody was like, oh, I can't have that because that's gluten. I'm like, gluten? Like, that's what we're fighting for? Yeah. And then, a lot of times, I know this is a very hot topic issue. When you hear people saying like, oh, because this, all these things have these food colorings in it. I'm like, right, okay. So we're making this big argument about food coloring. Okay.
But not the sugar.
But not the sugar? Like, I mean...
Right.
When here's the thing, Hawaiian Punch is really not red, right?
It's
I think we could all
kids.
agree. I think we could all agree it's not red. It's not naturally occurring.
Right.
But are you seeing the amount of sugar that has?
Right.
So are we going to overlook like, oh, it has a red dye. Oh, but that's what's going to kill you, not the sugar.
To that point, again, the comment that I put was like, also, because in the post, in that specific post, it said something like they're going to explore like alternate dental methods or something like that. And I'm like, what's an alternate dental method? Like yanking out your rotted teeth? And somebody was like, well, how about just cutting out all the sugar? And I'm like, that's not the only thing that causes cavities. Your teeth your body produces a certain level of acid. The things you eat has corrosion. It's naturally occurring. Even people who don't consume sugar can have cavities.
It's the selective outrage when,
meanwhile, insurance está por el techo, but we're going to be upset about this.
When it's like, all of a sudden people start freaking out and losing their minds about something. And, I don't know. We talk about this all the time in different areas and different things that come up that people all of a sudden like go crazy over something. And then it's like, okay, but like 6 months ago, most of you didn't even know this existed.
Right.
And now you are dying on that hill. Yeah. Like you are dying on that hill. It's not like, let me look into this. And again, let me ask some questions.
Exactly.
Let me ask my doctor.
Right.
Let me ask, my doctor, my dentist, professionals.
Right. People who do this for a living.
Right. No, let me die on that hill by things that I researched online on, other social media.
And by research, I mean, the Instagram handle, like bro loves healthy living.
Right. Like the other day I was actually talking to someone and they were showing me this video of JFK's assassination.
Okay.
And,
what's the great granddaddy of conspiracy theories?
And there's this video that he was saying, he was showing me the video.
The person you're speaking to.
Yeah, he showed me over and over again that in the video after JFK gets shot, the driver turns around and shoots him. Yeah. In the video that he showed me, JFK gets the initial shot.
Okay.
Right, because JFK had a couple of shots.
Yeah.
There's the initial shot. And then like moments later, in the video, in the video, it's like grainy,
of course.
Whatever.
It's from the 60s.
It looks like the driver turns around and shoots him. And he's like, yeah, look, he shot him. And I'm like, do you believe this? He's like, yeah, it's on the video. And I'm like, okay, so let me ask you some questions. I'm like, you believe this as fact? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, so you think that somebody would have tried to assassinate or shot the president of the United States in pure daylight in front of everyone? Does that sound reasonable?
Not just that. This is the first time we're seeing this video.
This is the first time we're seeing this video. And I'm like, so you mean to tell me that in Dallas, when this was happening, that this was an open event, that people were there, hundreds, if not thousands of people were there? Nobody witnessed that?
Right.
And he's like, oh, well, but you're asking too many questions. I'm like, well.
No. You're asking the right questions.
I'm like, and you didn't ask these questions?
And you're asking too few.
I'm like, and you didn't ask these questions? I'm like, and furthermore, who authenticated this video? And he's like, well, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, but if you're going to base,
right,
you're going to base something, you're going to go out and say, oh, the driver that was driving JFK shot him. If you were going to make a bold statement like that, you don't even know where this video came from. Who authenticated the video? And I told him, I bet you got it from Facebook. He's like, oh, yeah, how did you know? And I'm like, because I know.
Right.
No, you got it from Facebook. And you probably got it from some conspiracy theory account, right?
That probably has, because again,
and then he showed me
video and AI are best friends.
Account. He showed me the account. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to show me anymore. I'm like, and you are basing your opinion about something that has so many conspiracy theories. You are basing your opinion on this video because somebody wrote a sentence on the video that says, "Oh, look, the driver shot him."
The truth, yeah.
And then, como me dijo, pero tú tienes muchas preguntas like sobre eso. And I'm like, right, because those are logical questions that one would ask,
and you don't have enough questions.
That's called critical thinking,
right? Which is the problem we have nowadays. Which is what again. It just fascinates me, and I just want to kind of wrap this up. I don't know. Have you heard? Because we've already been called this twice. There's been twice that this comment has been left on our either on our pages or our comments or whatever. Do you know what an NPC is?
That your brain has been bought over. I forgot the acronym, but what it means, but that your brain sort of has been manipulated or something about your brain.
Essentially, it stands for non-playable character. So you're basically like in a video game, you have the character that you play and control, and then there's the characters that are non-playable. And those characters, to your point, have been essentially programmed to act a certain way, right? So
is this the...
It's the hot nerd insult, right? It's always by someone whose profile pic is an AI generated image.
It has zero posts
and 2 followers and 6,000 people they're following, or whatever the max is. So my whole thing with that is I'm gonna pull this NPC.
No, I was gonna say New Power Generation.
Yeah,
Prince's second band.
No, they weren't calling us Diamond and Pearl.
It's a great song.
Absolutely.
I gave you diamonds and pearl. Do you prefer the Revolution or New Power Generation?
The Revolution.
The Revolution all day.
Revolution all day.
All day, every day.
Yeah, it's all about the revolution.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, out of context, that's going to be taken badly. But so the whole thing I will say to rebut to that is, again, I'm not necessarily what we're going to call a religious person, but let's follow this down the rabbit hole because most of these people who say NPC tend to be like, the gods and gun people. So what you're telling me is that I have my factory setting thinking, presumably based on your thought process by a higher power, whereas you're saying that you're the playable character, and if you really whittle that down, the character in the game is controlled by an outside force. So it's not the insult you think it is, and you're not as in control of your destiny as you think you are.
Because it's 11:30 and the club is jumping
with Junior.
Jumping with Junior, coming this fall.
Yes.
So
that was my button on that. I just wanted to...
The botón.
Yes. Put a button on that one.
I think when I go home today, I'm going to watch Escape from the Mountain.
Which one?
Maybe I'll throw a curveball and watch The Return to the Mountain. All these freaking mountains.
It's Mount Helen.
Mount Olympus.
Which one? We don't know.
Everest. Okay, speaking of dangerous things... That's not something I would ever do. No.
Climb a mountain?
Climb Mount Everest.
I mean, Mandy Moore did it.
Mandy Moore did not climb to the summit of Mount Everest.
She didn't climb the summit, but she climbed more than I did.
Oh, no. I will climb halfway.
Oh, okay.
I will go halfway.
I'm like, listen.
Oh, no. I would go to the base camp. Oh, no. I've looked into this.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. I've looked into climbing Mount Everest. Yeah. No, there's the base camp. I will go to the base camp.
Okay.
Pero subir hasta allá arriba and past the dead people in the shiny boots? Hell no. Oh, hell no. No. First of all, up there, who are you going to call?
Not even Ghostbusters.
I mean, it's like, Mima, I made it to the top of the mountain. And ahora qué?
Your phone might even freeze.
Your phone might freeze. And then
You can't even take a picture. Yeah, your phone might freeze.
there's so little.
Oxygen.
There's that. No. No.
No.
You know what else I don't need to do? It's not dangerous because there's protection. I don't need to go in a cage to swim with dinosaurs.
Okay, no, I
Sharks.
definitely want to swim with dinosaurs.
Sharks.
Everybody.
I don't need to do that either. No, porque le tengo miedo.
That's one of those things that I'd be open to it. Like, I don't think I'd seek it out. But if we're all out on a boat and somebody's like, hey, I've got this cage, you want to get in it and look at sharks? I'd be like, okay.
I mean, I rode a manta ray once.
You rode a manta ray?
Yeah, in the Grand Cayman, yeah.
Oh, okay.
You
that's
sort
right,
of
right,
grasp one and you.
I was like were
Takes
you
you
just
away.
in the wild?
No, I don't need to go in a cage with sharks.
I don't need to, but I feel like I could be talked into it.
You know, sort of. Que me da un poquitico de miedo. Oil tankers.
Well, wait, you hate like oil rigs.
I do.
Yeah, that's one of your fears.
Yeah,
the oil
being
rigs.
stuck in an oil rig.
Yeah.
That I don't want to be stuck in an oil rig. I'll take my chances with the caged sharks.
Yeah.
What else am I afraid of? Oil rigs, straws, irregular circles.
I feel like your list just took a nosedive. You know, it was like kind of this cool, like, you know, oil rigs, straws. Like,
oh my God, just being in an oil rig and just having to jump off that thing because it's on fire. I'd be like, I don't know what to do. Like,
you jump, but the worst part about it is that you're going to jump. But then
why have we said jump so many times in this episode?
This episode is brought to you by Kris Kross. But the thing with that is that even if you're in the
Kris
water,
Kross had a Sprite commercial which was of lemon and lime.
there we go. We found that there's always a citrus
What
connection.
were you saying?
No, because even if you jump in the water, there's oil in the water, so the fire is just going to follow you. Like, you can't even really escape the fire just by jumping in the water.
Yeah.
To your point, I get the fear. I get it.
I'm afraid of that. An oil tanker, no. I'm not doing an oil tanker. I'll do a cargo ship. No, cargo ships. I would.
Please. Cargo ship is like this close to being an ocean liner for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, cargo ships are so. Listen. I watch the cargo ships in the port of Miami. I love going the containers going in and going out. Like, I love that shit. But an oil tanker, no, tengo su respeto.
I respect the oil tanker.
I'm afraid of barracudas more than sharks. But any person that's from Florida will tell you that.
Well, you're also afraid of piranhas.
Yes.
I mean, we all should be.
What else don't I like?
Well, as we established, the Amazon.
I'm not going anywhere near the Amazon. I'm not afraid of snakes. I just don't need to be around one, but I'm not afraid of them.
I'm okay with being around certain ones.
I've never touched a snake.
No?
I'm like, I don't care. I remember when we used to go to the zoo and on field trips, like, hold the boa, the boa constrictor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, I've touched a snake. I've touched a crocodile. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's in my list of things I've just never done and I'm not going to do, like play pool.
Okay, but that list is too big now. You're going to have to whittle it down. We're going to have to get you a snake.
No, I've told you. I love whenever I tell somebody I've never played pool. They're like, "You're gonna play pool with me?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. I'm in my 40s. I made this long without playing pool, and I'm not gonna play pool now.
I think that, like,
I'll jump in a pool.
I think that, like, on your deathbed, you should just be like, "Bring me a snake and a peanut butter sandwich next to the pool table."
I've never had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I've never had a meatball sub.
No, you've had a meatball sub.
I've taken a bite of a meatball
you've
sub.
had a meatball sub.
I've never bought a meatball sub because it's not a value. I've said this over and over again. It's not a value. And there's always, if I'm buying the sub, there's always a sub that I want more. I never go into a sub shop and be like, you know what I want? I want the meatball sub.
Sometimes I want the meatball sub.
No. This is about me, not you.
I know, but I'm a Leo. Make it about me.
What else wouldn't I do? What else wouldn't you do?
I don't know. I wouldn't do anything that involved birds
Okay.
because I'm scared of birds.
Ostriches even?
Those things are vicious. Also, they're gigantic.
That's true. Te meten tremendo cocotazo.
Or their claws. Like, no, I don't need that kind of foolishness in my life. What, I don't know. I'm not like afraid of many things. Like, yeah, like birds.
You know what I don't need to do? I don't need to go in a cave.
Oh, I like a good cave.
A good cave?
I
Yeah.
like a good cave.
Yeah.
I like a good cave. Like, you
So
know,
when was the last time you were in a good cave?
well, you know, the last time it was years ago in Hawaii. You know, when you're like kind of swimming and then you go into like a little cave, like a grotto. You know, a grotto's a cave.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? The last time you and I were in a cave together, sir, was in
Mexico?
In Mexico.
Okay, but that was a theme park.
It was a cave.
That was a curated cave.
No, that was a natural occurring cave that
Was curated for a theme park.
they built the theme
There
park
was no
around.
peligro there.
Well, you don't know. You could have drowned.
There was no peligro
You could
there.
have totally drowned in that cave. But it was a cave, and it was a nice cave. It was a good cave. It was a very acoustically sound cave.
You're putting way too much emphasis on that cave. I don't know.
Is it because of Punky Brewster?
That she was stuck in the fridge?
No, that was Cherry. But I don't know. There was an episode of Punky Brewster where they went
Okay,
into a
this
cave.
is enough nonsense. We need to go to our last soda.
Enough nonsense? That's the entire basis of the show.
Yeah. I'm gonna give my last soda to Winnebagos. That's
To
what I'm
Winnebagos,
gonna-
all the Winnebagos.
Yeah, this episode of Better Let Me Tell You is brought to you by Winnebagos
And Kris Kross.
and Kris Kross. I actually don't have a last soda for the week, so the Winnebagos getting it.
Winnebago.
That's why I had a big W on the side.
Well, yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Are you the expert on Winnebagos?
I didn't want to tell you, but yes.
Did you study Winnebago in college?
I've been getting my PhD in Winnebagos on Wikipedia.
Besides, we're Cuban. We don't do Winnebagos.
Yeah, we had my grandparents did have a trailer, but they parked it in the Keys.
That doesn't count.
Right? No, I'm saying that's as close as we got.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Oh, have you ever been camping? I'm like, I don't go camping.
Oh, well, I have. I've been camping.
Of course you've been camping. And you probably sang, hi ho, to off to work we go.
I was camping, not mining.
They were in the forest, going in caves.
And those were good caves.
I don't need to mine. That's something else I don't need to do. No, I don't need to do
You
that.
don't need to go mining? No. You don't want to wear a helmet with a lantern?
No, I also don't need to work in an oil I don't need to do a lot of things with oil. I don't need to work in an oil refinery
The
either.
irony, of course, being that we fry chicken.
Right, but that's crude oil.
Right. No, I'm saying the irony of you're like, I don't need to do a lot of things with oil, but this one is okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, like an oil refinery, oil tanker, the thing in the ocean.
So you wouldn't go help Andrew Tassel, clean ducks with Dawn liquid soap.
Oh no, I'll be at the science center with Dawn.
Okay.
Helping them, but I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not doing that.
You're not creating it. No.
No, I'm not out there in the water putting those things to hold the oil. I'll fix the animals
Okay.
or help the animals.
All right. Well, my last soda, and keep it short and sweet. So this week,
I'm not a big reptile person.
I get that.
I'm not afraid of them.
No, but I can just see you being like, meh.
I'm not touching your iguana.
No.
Sorry.
Well,
You know why? Because people that have those iguanas on their shoulders, they're like, "Oh, do you want to pet my iguana?" I'm like, "Hell no!" Like, why do I want to touch your iguana? Like, no, bro. Like, I'll pet your dog or some shit like that. I'm not touching your iguana.
there you go, Pero Primos. Do not ask Darian to touch your iguana.
I'm touching your iguana.
He just won't do it. He refuses to touch your iguana in public or
I'm not a
private.
big fan of reptiles.
So my last soda, real quick, we'll wrap it up. So my last soda this week, Val Kilmer passed away, and I just want to give it to Val Kilmer. I think he's one of these actors who, especially in the last couple of years after he had throat cancer, and he just kind of receded from the spotlight. Mm-hmm. But if you really,
He had been of ill health for quite some time.
yeah. I mean, it was a long time that he was just estaba mal. But when I think of Val Kilmer, I just think of so many movies, from just always, it's Willow, which I loved. We were talking about it earlier. I think he was actually probably I don't want to say the best Batman, but I really love Batman Forever.
I love Batman Forever, and I know that's
really
not a
love Batman
popular
Forever.
opinion, but I like him as Batman. I'm not saying he's better than Michael Keaton.
Right, but
I liked Batman Forever. I liked Jim Carrey in that movie. I loved the U2 song. He'll hold me, kiss me, kill me, throw me.
Yep.
I loved the Kiss song.
That's true.
Kiss from a Rose. That's a great movie.
Back when we used to have soundtracks.
Yes.
Yeah. And just in general, like you could tell he was somebody who and everybody, the tributes are coming out now. And, you know, he was one of those like actors who was a little testy now and then. But the thing with him is like he kind of could do it all because he did action, he did drama, he could be funny. He was in Top Gun, in Heat. So I just feel like this is an actor who was in so many movies that we grew up on and just were part of like, you know, just American pop culture cinema. And then because he hadn't been as active in the last like 10 years or so, I think he didn't get his due in the way that most people probably should have who've had a career like his.
Right.
Another thing I didn't know about him was he was absolutely obsessed with Mark Twain.
Oh, really?
To the point where he put on a one-man show about Mark Twain, where he played Mark Twain. And he had wanted to do a movie where, because Mark Twain would always like verbally spar with this woman who was a Christian Scientist. And actually, I didn't know this. Val Kilmer was a Christian Scientist as well. So it was just interesting that
They have great reading rooms.
that they are all over the place. You know, it's probably very air conditioned.
Cozy.
You know, and he dated Cher. So I mean,
He dated Cher.
He dated Cher. He did it all. So you know, Val Kilmer, I just think is somebody that if you are of a certain age, you kind of hold him in respect. But I don't think he got the due that he.
Yeah, I agree. He didn't get his flowers.
His flowers, yeah. So last soda to you, Mr. Kilmer.
That's a good one. Yeah, Batman.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Wait, who else was in that movie?
Tommy Lee Jones.
Yes.
And so was Drew Barrymore and Debbie Mazar.
Yes.
And Nicole Kidman as the world's breathiest psychologist.
Yeah. What? That movie was critically panned. Why?
I don't know, because it was so different from part 2.
A Joel Schumacher film.
That's probably why.
Why he wasn't critically acclaimed?
I don't think Joel Schumacher was ever critically acclaimed. He made, you know, movies that were enjoyed by the audiences or whatever, but I don't think Joel Schumacher was ever considered like an Oscar or like an auteur or anything like that.
Got it. Okay, everybody, we're going to get on a Winnebago now and escape to a mountain. We hope you listen, laughed, and learn. And as always, remember to grab your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And thank you so much for joining us. This episode was about nothing, but
As
you know,
per usual.
Yeah, so have a great weekend, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.